Well, hey, friends, thank you so much for joining us. We're always excited to have you with us. We are diving into a big topic today, and it's a lot of information. And by the time we got done recording it, we were like, wow, this is cram-packed. So we decided that we're going to split this into 2 separate episodes. So it's a little different than we've usually done, but today you're going to get about halfway through our discussion, and we're going to cut that off, and then we'll pick it back up next week. But let's just go ahead and dive in right on the other side of the intro.
Sounds good.
Welcome to the Blended Family Coaching Show, where you'll discover how to move your stepfamily from just surviving to truly thriving.
Grab your headphones and listen in as we share practical, real-life strategies for building healthy bonds,
Understanding the kids' perspective,
romance and partnership,
parenting with great teamwork.
and yes, even co-parenting with a difficult ex.
We're Mike and Kim Anderson, and we believe with the right tools, every step couple can overcome the common challenges of stepfamily life.
Join us for authentic and sometimes comical conversations to discover how you can lead your family with confidence and create the future you really want.
Well, hey, everybody, welcome. Wow.
Yes, hello.
What an incredible week we have had. We hope that you were able to join us for the 5-day challenge that's right here on the podcast. Now, if you missed it, go back and check it out. It's not too late. You're going to discover some simple steps that you can take to move just one thing forward in your blended family that matters to you most. Now, we took the challenge along with you.
We did.
We're making progress as well. Even 20 years into our journey, we're still looking for these things that, hey, how can we make things better and enjoy our marriage and our family a little bit more?
Yeah.
So, do you want to give a quick update on your progress?
My focus was on creating more romance in our marriage.
Oh, yes.
And that basically is around planning more date nights and time together. So I did get a date on the calendar. I think you noticed.
That.
Okay, coming up October 4th.
Yep.
And I have some fun things planned, hopefully some surprises. And I also identified 5 other date night ideas for
that
future.
I didn't know. I saw October 4th, but I didn't know there were more.
I did make some progress.
Cool. I'm excited.
How about you?
I've made progress as well. My focus is on rhythm, and it's really tied to my physical health. And so some of the progress I've made is just getting to the gym, not only by myself, but I remember one of my paths was that I need some extra help.
Sure.
So I've been working with a personal trainer, and it's been really good, but also that dude's been kicking my butt. And I am like sore and had trouble climbing stairs and all kinds of stuff. But you know what? I feel good, and I'm going to keep going back because I want to be healthy.
Yeah, we even went to the gym together
We
one
did.
day.
That was
and
fun.
Was
yeah.
fun. Yeah.
You're really cute when you're working out.
Oh,
I like
thanks.
that.
Sorry.
Yeah. All right. So that was our challenge. And now coming out of the challenge, we're jumping right into a topic. We're diving into the deep end that many couples share. And it's really difficult.
Yeah.
In fact, we heard from some listeners recently who specifically asked us to dive deeper into this. And they let us know about this through a simple form that we've created online where you also could go and submit some requests for topics just like this.
Yeah.
So you can go to mikeandkimcoaching.com/share to let us know what you're struggling with, and we'll see how we might be able to talk about that here on the show.
Yeah, we want to bring you value.
That's right. And we're going to link to that in the show notes, and we would love to hear from you. So a couple of weeks ago, one couple shared with us that the concept of parent-child allegiances was something that really struck home with them. And they'd love more resources or tips on how to combat parent-child allegiances. And, you know, for them, it's already been happening, or maybe it's even been going on for a while.
Yeah, that's what they said.
Yeah, we really appreciate this suggestion. And to this couple who submitted this, you know who you are. We want to say great job for already doing some homework. Right? We understood from your message that you've been listening to some episodes where we've talked a bit about this dynamic, and you've also read some blog articles on the topic. However, this is a really big topic, and we can see why you're asking us to dive a little bit deeper.
Yeah, and there's not a lot of information out there.
It's true, yeah. This parent-child allegiance is a really common thing for blended families to experience. So without knowing all the details of your unique situation, we're just going to do our best to do a deeper dive into the topic and hopefully bring some value to you and, of course, to everyone listening.
That's right.
Now, not long ago in episode 49, which is called Should Your Highest Priority Be Your Marriage or Your Kids? We explored the two extreme approaches that a lot of couples tend to take when they begin this process of blending their families. We kind of have these different perspectives that we place.
Yeah.
They'll either put the marriage first, like always,
all the time,
right? Which seems to kind of be like common sense to a lot of couples in order to create the healthy family dynamics that they're after. But there's a couple of problems with this particular approach. And one is it's not really clear what this means. And it's often interpreted that a bio-parent always has to choose their spouse over the kids in everything, from choosing where to go for dinner tonight to major parenting decisions. Like everything has to be about agreeing with or choosing our spouse. Mm-hmm. So that's one issue, the ambiguity and the misinterpretation. But the real problems hit when we try to do that, and then we discover that this approach continually sets the bio-parent up for what we call being a trapped teammate, kind of stuck on the inside of the relationships. Yeah. They're struggling to keep everyone happy. They're heartbroken as their kids start to get frustrated, angry, and even pull away from the family. And typically what happens when we use this approach is that the kids feel their emotional needs are being neglected. And often they really kind of are. Yeah. It leaves them feeling insecure and forgotten. So this approach that, hey, the marriage is always first is one extreme that can be really challenging. And then there's the opposite approach of putting the kids first and leaving the marital relationship on the back burner. Mm-hmm. And the issue of ambiguity about what this really means pops up on this side of the pendulum as well. And what happens when a bio-parent takes this approach is that they regularly invite the children to be involved in all kinds of decisions. Sometimes it's overtly, other times it's more subtly. In this situation, the kids are often given too much power in the home. And we've discussed this on the show before, really, that this approach leads to the kids and our parenting becoming a relational wedge between the couple. And it often creates family conflict and resentment. Typically, the step-parent is left feeling like an outsider. We call that being the stranded stranger. This approach deprives the family of experiencing the marital relationship as the strong foundation of the home, which in the long run actually creates a sense of stability that's critical to the success of a blended family.
So if neither of these approaches work, then what do couples need to focus on in order to mitigate the challenges of parent-child allegiances and that danger zone of creating a relational chasm between the couple? Mm-hmm. Well, we all have to learn how to navigate blended family life in a way that will regularly meet the emotional needs of the children and gradually elevate their marriage to be the foundational relationship of the home. It's so important.
Yeah.
And as a starting point, every step couple needs to understand two big realities. First, they need to accept the reality that in most cases, your remarriage usually feels like a loss to the kids.
Yeah.
And back in episode 49, we gave some tips that can help to ease the kids into the family's new dynamic and instill that sense of security that they really need.
Mm-hmm. And the second big reality is that the relationships within your blended family need a gradual rebalancing. Also in episode 49, we explored how stepfamily structure causes relationships to be reordered. They're different than first families, and they need to be rebalanced. But as stepfamily expert Ron Deal says, this developmental task is difficult and takes a few to the brink of divorce. It's a delicate balance of marital teamwork that takes harmony and practice.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
We can really relate to that, can't we, honey?
Yeah.
We were on that brink.
We were.
Yeah. Couples have got to learn to work together to rebalance the relationships and to stay in balance. They must decide together how they're going to balance commitments to both the kids and their marriage.
Absolutely.
Now, if you haven't listened to episode 49, we've already mentioned it a few times. That's really a good place to start because we give practical tips to help you rebalance those relationships, to elevate your marriage, maintain stability for the kids, all of that. Now, understanding these concepts is really just the first step to addressing some of these parent-child allegiances. So a moment ago, we just mentioned the trapped teammate and the stranded stranger dynamic. And when a step couple is struggling with a parent-child allegiance, they will definitely experience the painful reality of being either that trapped teammate for the bio parent or the stranded stranger as a step parent. If you're unfamiliar with these terms, maybe you're not sure quite what we're talking about, you're going to want to go back and check out episode 21. That really unpacks this dynamic. And then actually episode 22, 23, and 24 go even deeper, and it'll help you understand how you can start to get some relief and move beyond those difficult positions of being stuck on the inside as a trapped teammate or on the outside as a stranded stranger.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've just set up a whole lot of stuff. We've already given you a bunch of resources, but let's get to what we're actually going to talk about today.
So for this episode, we want to take a look at another layer of the parent-child allegiance that so many of us face and go a bit deeper by focusing on the barriers that most of us need to face and move beyond if we want to begin reversing maybe a long-standing parent-child allegiance and really start rebalancing the relationships in our home. Having this parent-child allegiance dynamic in the home can be emotionally difficult and draining for both the bio and the step parent.
Sure.
And as we stated back in episode 49, the primary key to overcoming parent-child allegiances is unity.
That's right, unity.
You've got to learn to work as a team together because you each have some specific roles to play, and you need to do these well if you really want to make progress. Listen to what expert Ron Deal says. It's the biological parent who ultimately has the responsibility to elevate the status of the step parent and the marriage in the family. If they don't, it probably won't happen.
Whew, that means I'm off the hook.
No. Ron goes on to say that the step parent with the wrong attitude can make this process even more difficult.
Would you say I've maybe done that
sometimes?
Oh, you didn't have to agree so quickly.
So what Ron is saying is that we both play a part in healing this dynamic. It's not just one partner or the other. And that's significant because it's often a dynamic where we find ourselves blaming and pointing fingers at each other.
Yeah.
So common. And I know in times when this dynamic was challenging for me, I usually blamed you, honey.
Yeah.
I felt like you needed to just lighten up and back off so that I could take care of my daughter the way that I thought was best, right?
Yeah, totally, yeah. And you know what? I usually pointed my finger at you, too. I was feeling like you needed to put your foot down with your daughter, take a stand.
Yeah.
You know, my viewpoint was that you were being manipulated and controlled, and I was the one paying the price.
Yeah.
And you know what? We hear these kind of stories all the time with lots of the clients that we coach. It's just really common.
It is.
And by the way, we've mentioned Ron Deal a couple of times already, and we highly recommend his book, The Smart Step Family. And some of what we're going to share today comes directly from that book, specifically from chapter 5, which has the subtitle, Your Marriage Must Be a Top Priority. So Kim and I, we've been learning from Ron and his team for really 20 years.
Yeah.
And he's incredibly insightful and helpful.
Yeah.
All right. Now, again, this is a huge topic, and our focus in this specific episode is going to be on the bio parent's role and identify some of the possible barriers that they might need to overcome in the process of rebalancing these relationships and shifting priorities. We'll focus on the step parent's barriers in an upcoming episode, but so much of this starts with the bio parent. So that's just where we're going today. Now, there's no question that the bio parent is in a tough position.
Really tough.
For most bio parents, they've spent many months or even years experiencing all kinds of parenting patterns. And these patterns have really been well established with their kids during those single parent years. And now they're being challenged to start doing something new, to step out of the status quo. And stepping out of the status quo in any area of life can be challenging for us as humans, right? Changing habits is tough. It takes a lot of courage, and bio parents must summon that courage to change things up, to examine and establish healthy parental authority, stand firm in their decisions, and play that balancing act between meeting the needs of their kids, and honoring their marriage.
Yeah.
And there are many different challenges and emotional barriers that might keep a bioparent from taking on that responsibility of elevating the status of the step-parent and the marriage in the family, and in turn, loosen that parent-child allegiance. So let's uncover some of those.
Yeah, it really is difficult. I struggled emotionally as we kind of navigated through all this. It took years. And I'm just going to share some of my biggest barriers because I really think that most of the bioparents out there are going to be able to relate to these. Now, for me, guilt was a big one, and it's really common for post-divorce parents to feel a certain degree of guilt about what their kids have been through and the impact of that first family split. And when we see our kids are struggling or they're hurting, especially if it's due in part to some of our own decisions or actions, we're naturally going to tend to parent from a place of guilt. And this is where we might shield a child from inconveniences such as chores or personal responsibilities. We might overlook some of their poor behaviors or kind of let them off the hook from consequences. We might hand over an excessive amount of power around daily decisions, and often without even realizing it, we're letting the kids run the show to a large degree, and they can start to believe that they should be influencing almost everything that goes on.
Yeah.
From the food you're eating to bedtime curfew to where you'll vacation.
Yeah. We're so excited to let you know about something brand new we've created just for you.
We've realized that with so many episodes available here on the show, it might feel a bit overwhelming to find the topics that matter most to you. That's why we've created a simple tool for you to receive a personalized playlist focused on your current struggle or your biggest challenge.
That's right. It's called the Blended Family Breakthrough Quiz. You'll answer just a few questions, and based on your responses, we'll email you a curated custom playlist of episodes that are specific to you.
This simple quiz will direct you to the most impactful episodes that pertain to you personally and keep you on track in your journey of discovery, learning, and growth. So, scroll all the way to the bottom of the show notes for this episode and click the link to take the Blended Family Breakthrough Quiz today.
Okay, let's get back to the discussion.
And the truth is that a guilt-ridden parent will hand over a lot of control to the kids, and as time goes on, they'll also give up most, if not all, of their parental authority.
Wow, that's tough.
Yeah. And this is definitely where I was as a single mom for about 3 years. And this is the dynamic that my daughter was used to. So we need to understand that guilt is a powerful emotion, and it can motivate a bioparent to protect their child from pain and discomfort. And a parent might also tend to overcompensate by giving kids just about anything they want and rarely having that ability to say no.
Yeah.
So the reality is that this dynamic, it's very common, but parenting from a place of guilt is ultimately detrimental to your current blended family marriage and to your kids as well.
Yeah.
If you're relating to any of this, I get it. I really feel your pain. This is tough.
Yep.
And I want you to know that you can move beyond this and you can create some new, healthier dynamics for your family. Because I know if I can do it, you can do it too.
Yeah, you've done an incredible job overcoming a lot
thanks,
of this.
honey.
Yeah.
Now, fear. Let's talk about that because it's another powerful emotion. And fear really set me up for unproductive parenting with my daughter. Then this is also common for many divorced parents. When the family splits and you now have children moving between two separate homes to spend time with each parent, it can stir up a lot of feelings of insecurity, which will lead to fear. We fear that our kids will enjoy the other parent more and want to spend more time there and less time with us. And because we're only interacting with our children during limited visitation time now, we want that time to be nothing but fun.
Yeah, fun time.
Yeah, we don't want to waste our time disciplining or focusing on responsibility or anything that our kids might show even the slightest bit of resistance towards.
Yeah.
Especially if that other parent isn't focused on those things, or we assume they aren't, right? They're just having a great time over there all the time.
It's all fun time at Dad's, so I don't want to make it rule time at Mom's.
Right.
Yeah.
Fear might also be increased if the other home or if our ex is bad-mouthing us or criticizing how our home operates.
Yeah, for sure.
We fear our kids will reject us or refuse to spend time at our home if we aren't consistently making sure that everything for them is easy and pleasurable. Now, in my case, I would cringe internally every time my daughter was even the slightest bit unhappy or experienced anything negative during our visits. And when something didn't go her way, all she had to do was voice a complaint, and I'd give in and make sure she got what she wanted. Which what she wanted was to run the show and not have to experience any consequences or any real parental guidance. What every kid wants, right?
Yeah, of course, right. I can confirm that. And, this was an established pattern, and essentially you entered into our marriage. This is what I'm hearing right now. You entered into our marriage with a lot of guilt and fear, which was still kind of dictating your parenting decisions even after we were all under one roof.
Absolutely,
is that right?
Absolutely, yes. Yeah. And I would even say that my guilt and fear actually increased at that point.
Interesting.
Because I wasn't sure how my daughter Annika was going to react to our new blended dynamic. If she was going to accept you as her stepdad or be hesitant or unhappy that she had to share me with you now. And there were a lot of changes going on for her.
Yeah.
I felt guilty, and I was worried that I might be putting my own desires to remarry above what she wanted or what I perceived was best for her.
Yeah, and in the meantime, I was on the other side wanting attention and expecting all that too, which probably added to the pressure of all that.
Yeah, I was definitely experienced that trapped teammate dynamic. And, my fear increased too after we got married, because if she didn't respond well, and if she struggled with our blending process, I worried that she'd want to spend more time at her dad's house and with his new wife, who she seemed to really enjoy and have a great time with.
Yeah, I can see that.
And I have to say that later on, my guilt and my fear ramped up even more when we had our own 2 mutual kids. And her dad and stepmom also had kids, because it felt like we were in this competition dance.
Yeah.
And you know what? For most bio parents, there's no shortage of opportunities for guilt and fear to creep in and kind of take up too much room in our heads, which then sets us up to respond emotionally when it comes to our parenting.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I don't think I've ever really thought about it just like ramping up and ramping up and ramping up just through our dynamics.
It's not easy to admit either. It was a tough journey, honestly.
It was, yeah. I think it's pretty clear that a bio parent that's experiencing guilt and fear can become what we've called before a paralyzed parent.
Absolutely.
Right? They may not be able to take the necessary steps forward to really rebalance the relationships when they're paralyzed, because any bio parent that wants to take those steps has got to have a certain level of confidence and authority with the kids in order to do that, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And from the kids' point of view, if they're in charge, whether they realize it or not, nothing is really going to change from their perspective. Like, they're in control, and there's absolutely no reason for them to give up the power that they've already been given in these established patterns that we've been talking about.
They're not handing it over.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like Annika's going to come to you at age 6, 7, or 8 years old and be like, Mom, I've been thinking. I've really been influencing a lot of the decisions around here, and I'm not sure it's very healthy for our family in the long run. So why don't you start laying down the law for me so that we can all feel much better once we get that power rebalanced, okay?
No.
Like, that's just silly, right? It's a silly thought.
Yeah.
So, when I think about all that, I'm wondering, what kind of advice would you give to a parent who can really relate to all this? They're listening and they're going, oh my gosh, that's me. And they're concerned that they might be making parenting decisions from this place that you're describing about guilt and fear. So they're kind of that paralyzed parent who's maybe fallen into that pattern of permissiveness, if I can say that word right, permissiveness. and maybe they just don't feel like they have much parental authority right now with their kids. Is it possible even at this point to turn things around, even after this has been going on for a long time?
Absolutely. I would say, yes, you can turn things around if, and here's the caveat, if you're willing to do the work to overcome those driving emotions of guilt and fear that aren't serving you or your family well.
Yeah. Wow, that is a lot of information. I can't believe it's only like halfway through the conversation.
We have a lot to say about this topic.
I guess that tells you how big the topic is.
Yeah.
But you know what? We're going to go ahead and leave you with those thoughts for this week
to process
and consider. And then we're going to pick up the conversation next week right where we left off and bring some more value in that way.
We'll dive right back in.
That's right. So until then, that's going to make this week a wrap, but not this episode quite a wrap yet.
Right. Until next time.